So I recently purchased the Ableton Move. One of the limitations that you have on the unit is that it only works in 4/4. You don't actually get the ability to choose different meters, say like 3/4, 5/4, 6/8, 7/8, that sort of thing. Not too long ago, I released a video where I performed a jazz waltz on the unit, and I got some people who kind of asked some questions about what I did. Sonic wrote, "Can you please explain a little bit more about what we're seeing? For example, when you're playing the piano riffs, there are other pads lighting up green as you play that you're not touching. Are those just replications of the pads you're playing, but in another spot on the pad grid? Is there a pad layout that represents the notes so that you know what you're playing that we may not be aware of as viewers?" And additionally, Spoon wrote, "Which piano preset are you using? And more importantly, how did you get it to do the 6/8 time? I thought the move was limited to 4/4. Well, Spoon, you're right. It is in like its essence limited to 4/4, but I found a way to work around it. Now, I'm going to share that with you here, but I'll be open about the fact that the way I did it at first was a little ham-fisted, and as I've gotten to know the unit better, I have an improved method that I'm going to share with you now. Let me address maybe the issue first as to which tones I was using. So for the piano sounds, let's see, I can pull it up here in the unit. So I have a Rhodes to do a basic like comp for the, if you know jazz stuff. This is kind of like a jazz trio, but rather than doing like a drums, bass, piano, it was like drums, bass, a Rhodes doing a comp, and a piano doing a lead. And so for my Rhodes comp, I just used E piano Rhode-ish, and it's got this really nice tone. Kind of mellow. It fit in really nice with what I was trying to do. For the piano lead, I just used this acoustic lo-fi piano. And yeah, it's got again, for a lo-fi sound, that's a really cool sounding, kind of vibey, somewhat almost like there's like wax filter over the strings or something like that. It's got a really interesting kind of a sound. So that's the piano lo-fi sound. And then for the bass, I just used an upright bass sound. I can't remember if this is actually part of, let me check really quickly. I think it was part of the original set and not a user one, although the original one I think I actually did create as a user. So we can come back out of there, back just into the bass. There we go. And it sounds. And that was perfect. This nice little kind of woody sounding upright bass, and the sample's convincing enough. So, and then for my drum kit, well, I had been putting together this kind of like 909 bass drum kit, and that's what you'll hear in the original recording. Since then, one of the things I decided that I would change up on it is instead of using that 909 kit, since everything else was sounding a little more lo-fi, I used, in this example here, I'm going to use the, what is it called? Taka Vibe Kit. So, I think I might have replaced a couple of the sounds like this hat here. Nice little ticky hat, and definitely the cymbals here. In fact, what I did here for the ride was and this one is, which one? Cymbal Machine? Yeah. I duplicated across these two pads so I can just, kind of do like a bit of a, kind of a pattern on the ride. And it's a lot easier to do that with two pads than it is with one. Now, how did I get the 3/4 out of this? And now this is what's an interesting process here. Yes, if I go ahead and go over here to the metronome and I enable that, and then I hit play, that's what I get is this 3/4 kind of a thing. Or sorry, a 4/4 kind of a thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want to do this piece in 3/4. And not only that, but I want to swing it. And I want to be able to maybe quantize it a bit too, just to kind of clean up certain imperfections, kind of a looser quantize, about 80%, something like that. And so the other thing about the move is it also doesn't swing per se. It's more of what I would call a shuffle because it swings at the 16th note levels. That's more of a shuffle feel. So what I did was I halved my tempo. This, let me see. The tempo here is 64. The original tempo was 128. So I brought it down to 64. So now I'm going to treat my 16ths like they're eighths. And then I can, shuffle the 16ths, which are now eighths, and that gives me the swing. Additionally, I'm going to use eighth notes as the beat states. So to do that, what I do is I go over here and enable the note repeat. And then I can come over to the hi-hat, and that's going to give me what I want, except right now it's set to the 16th rate. So I'll just change that. There we go. And that's going to be my beat state. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to do that over the click. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now I can count that in my head right now, but I won't hear that on the other side. So the cool thing about the Move is that it has these poly pressure pads, right? So I'll just increase a little bit of pressure where my one's going to be. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So I'll go ahead and do that. Now the other thing I know too, and cut that off. The other thing I know too is that my song is going to be 12 bar long. So that my basic riff is going to be 12 bars long, and so I'm going to have it repeat every 12 bars. So I'm going to think about the riff in my head and kind of like 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, all the way to 12. So let's try that, and I'll go ahead and hit record. I'll get a 4-beat count in, and then I'll start laying down the hi-hat as my beat states. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 3, 6, 2, 3, 7, 2, 3, 8, 2, 3, 9, 2, 3, 10, 2, 3, 11, 2, 3, 12, 2, 3. And there we go, we have it. But I have these 2 extra beats at the end, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to truncate the loop just slightly. So if I go to loop length, I hold down the loop button and go to loop length. Then what I can do is I can reduce it by 4 bars, but that's too much because actually it actually ends up being 4.5 bars of 4/4, etc. So what I need to do is go to 4.5 bars, and I do that by hitting the shift key and the loop key, and now I go 4 plus and all the way down to 8/16, which is 1/2. And now if I play it, let's hear that again. 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 6, 2, 3, 7, 2, 3, 8, 2, 3, 9, 2, 3, 10, 2, 3, 11, 2, 3, 12, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you see it just went right back to 1 there, if you're following the screen. Now that I have my loop, I can lay down, like, say, the kick and the snare against it. And I'm going to think a bit about, like, what the feel is going to be like when I overlay the other parts. So let's give that a try. And there we go. I've got my little loop going on. Now, there are a couple hits in there that are a little bit off, so I'm going to try applying a bit of quantization and see if that works. So let's try it again. Here, listen back to it. So one of those didn't really take. I think it's like towards the end there. And I can, fix that in post. It's probably right around bar 4. Now I have this kick that's entered here, but I have a kind of doubling on this bar right here, and I can see it right there. It's kind of occurring with the snare, and I don't think I want that happening on the snare. So I should just go over here, hit delete, hit the step. There we go. We can listen to it again. Actually, it turns out that was not it. So I'll undo. It was actually kind of right here, I believe, this one. Let's check it out again. I'll listen to it and see if I can find out where it is. Okay, so it turns out it's this step right here. So I'm going to try and nudge the step back some. Try that one. And that did it. Yeah, unfortunately, with the Ableton Move, we don't have, I'm not aware of a way to go in and just preview a portion of a bar, unless maybe I guess a way to do it, and I just thought of it, is I can probably come into the loop and redefine the loop to say it's just like the last. If I suspect it's back here at the last 4 bars, you can just kind of like do the loop right there. And that gets me to the point. Of course, it also undoes what I did with that half loop there at the end. So what I'll have to do is go back and do the whole 5 bars and then hit shift and loop again and bring it down to 4 + 8/16. And then I get my loop back. Okay, so now the next thing I can add is the ride cymbal. So I'll go ahead and do that. Then I'll go ahead and quantize it. And now that I have what I like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So I'll go ahead and mute the hat right here, and also take out the metronome. And that sounds good to me. So then what I would do is I lay in the bass, and the bass is just this kind of like quarters or like dotted halves. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'll just go with what I've already entered here. So I'll go back to the session view or session mode and just bring in the bass that I previously recorded. Similarly, I added in the Rhodes as the comp part, and I just kind of did that kind of a thing. And so I'll just add in what I added before, so we can go back to the session mode. And there you can see some of the doublings here that happen with the green pads. We see them represented in different places. So that kind of answers the question, like, are these green extra pads, are there notes, or are they just replications of the same notes? Sometimes in my performance, they were replications of the same notes I was playing, as they're duplicated across the layout, because this is laid out in fourths, or at least 4 half steps. One, here, go ahead and like kind of like a guitar. But one of the things I would do actually, I would come back and do a little improv using the Rhodes. Like that. And so actually you're seeing both what I'm currently playing and what I had previously recorded, which again is a way to expand on that 4-track option here. I can take a single instrument like the Rhodes and do like a, that, assuming that comp that I'd already put in there was a left-hand comp, I'm just laying the right hand in over that. But of course I started off with our little lo-fi piano here, and I just started doing an improv with that over the Rhodes. And that was a good part of my improv as well. So a lot of it was the piano, and then part of it was the Rhodes. And then one of the other things that I did in this was to add in a bit of background Foley, kind of like cafe noise. And it's right here. Whoops. Nope. That's where it is. And there is no way to stop this. Yeah, so they keep going. Now, what I had done when I had recorded it, I didn't realize that there was a way to filter the samples because it wasn't very obvious from the interface. Let's go ahead and add that cafe noise back in. And I can just do this by coming over here and choosing this pad here and then putting it down on beat 1, just like that. Now, if I hold down Shift and go to the knob here, and I believe I push down here. Yeah, so you hit Shift and you push on the main knob, then you get your choice between main bank, where you get, detune and the volume of the waveform, or sorry, yeah, the start point of the waveform, etc. You could also go to filter and setup, and now I have filter frequency, and so this is a cutoff. I can bring it all the way down, bring it up, and just kind of bring it to a place where it doesn't interfere with the music. And that's kind of an improvement I've made over the existing track. So one of the other questions was dealing with note selection. So if I go over here, I believe, we can see, oh, sorry, it is right here, that I've got a chromatic layout, but it's C minor. So this means this is going to be C, and then the white pads comport with a C natural minor scale, but allows me the ability to be chromatic. And of course, you can shift that right here by going from chromatic, to in key. Now, the advantage of in key, although sample gets kind of really distorted the higher you go, it does give you the ability to have more notes. I got more octaves of notes. I mean, that's really extreme. Whereas if I go back to the chromatic, I only get an octave plus a fifth, and maybe down a minor third. And so it doesn't give me as much range, but it gives me more expression. And then I can just use the plus button to go up another octave. And that gives me, more octave expression, allows me to develop it. And so that's a lot of what I did is, I just got the groove going, and I started developing on the soloing until I got to a point where I was happy. And then just to pull it out, I had pre-recorded a little bit of a riff on the piano part. So I go back here to the session view, I can just play that. And then you can just fade that out. And that's essentially how I put that track together. One other thing I should talk about before I end my video is how I actually ended up recording what I was doing in the cafe. I used the DJI mic to do the recording. I took one of the transmitters and plugged it via this little 1/8 inch in here to the 1/8 inch out of the Ableton Move. And with my iPhone, I had the receiver plugged into my iPhone via USB-C. And then my iPhone itself was just mounted to this little MagSafe aimed down at the Move. So it's kind of a cool little compact performance studio pointing at the wall. Was very, how do I say it, unobtrusive. It's not like I had big old tripods around me while I was recording. Everything was very subtle. Nobody really took notice of what I was doing. And it was kind of cool. I was just in my own world at a cafe, just going to do my little thing. And it wasn't very, I wasn't calling a lot of attention to myself, which was nice. And meanwhile, I had a bit of an inspirational vibe to what I was doing when I was improvising. If you have any suggestions that are maybe improvements in what I did here, or have any other questions about what I did, please feel free to leave them in the comments. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.